Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It is your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, we're discussing a 2019 launch. This is the Omega Seamaster Diver 300-meter chronograph, a follow-up to 2018's wholesale redesign of the Diver 300-meter line. This is the chronograph variant. It's the flagship among the chronos. 44 millimeters in diameter. You can see it is Sedna red gold. 17.5 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip. 52.4 millimeters with a 21 millimeter spacing between the lugs. We'll throw this watch on my wrist. My wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference. It fits, but only just. I do believe that if your wrist is any smaller than mine, there are going to be some fit issues. So 16 centimeter circumference wrists or larger. Down the barrel, you can see it just stays inboard of the edge of my wrist. The strap is high quality and fully integrated, so it closes the gap to the case for a neater, more congruent profile. You can see there's no daylight between strap and case, and not only does it match the curve of the case, it also matches the downward curve of the lug. It's a matte finish. You can see there are two striations running down, flanking a center stripe that terminates in a Seamaster branded strap minder. We have a buckle here. It's a pin buckle system that includes a combination of polish and satin for a handsome and unaccustomed level of detailing on a dive style watch, but it is a flagship, so you should not be surprised. We have ceramic caps to the chronograph pushers, and these may look like screw downs, but they're actually shouldered for shear protection. You can operate the chrono anytime you want on this 300-meter diver. You don't need to first unscrew the crown. It's always available. We do have a screw down conventional crown, 300-meter water resistance. We have a conical profile for the helium escape valve. On this generation of the Diver 300-meter, you can now open the helium valve while you are submerged. The idea is that if you're a saturation diver, helium accumulates in the watch. When the internal pressure exceeds external pressure by 2 to 3 bar, provided you've opened this valve, it will automatically vent out the helium so you don't blow out the crystals and the seals. Now, the watch has lyre-style lugs. We know this case shape well since the early 60s on innumerable Seamasters and Speedmasters. We have bevels inboard, bevels outboard. The outer bevels are polished. The mid-case is satinated. The outer bezel is satinated. The bezel is a 120-click affair. Let's hear it. Action is satisfying, precision is good, though with a very shallow knurling profile, you're going to want to set this bezel before your dive because it's a little bit challenging to set with wet hands. We have a bezel that is upscale. Yes, it's ceramic capped like the other Diver 300 meters, but just like the dial, it's all negative relief. So rather than the whole thing being gloss polished with lacquered or media blasted or laser ablated indices and numerals, here you can see that everything has been laser ablated with the exception of the indices and the numerals. They stand proud of the laser ablated matte ceramic base in high polish, a look that is exclusive to this full gold model. We've got our luminescent pearl. Let's take a look at all of this in the dark. And you can see that the pearl and the minute hand are green to distinguish them from the rest of the dial, so you can gauge your reference points and tell time in a jiffy in the dark. Also note that all the hands are loomed, including sub-registers and the constant seconds hand. Always good, because the chronograph seconds hand and the constant seconds hand let you know your watch is running in the dark and during a dive. We have applied rose gold indices. We have rose gold hands. We have rose gold tracks for the calibrations of the sub-registers. Each sub-register internally has a black concentric pattern. I mentioned negative relief for the bezel, and the same is true of the dial. So rather than have the waves being recesses in a polished dial, you can see that most of the dial is actually matte laser ablated, and the waves are raised and polished themselves, and the dial base is ceramic. We've got a black date disc on a black dial. I always love it when watch brands get this right. The date disc should be the same color as the dial, and here it is. There's a chapter ring inboard that allows you to read minutes, seconds, and fractions of seconds. It is brushed rose gold in color. We've got a vertical clutch column wheel combination, which means that the chronograph is crisp and satisfying to operate. And then with the vertical clutch, it starts without any jump. There's no extraneous motion because there is no play in a vertical clutch, but moreover, you never need to stop the chronograph if you just like to run it full time. There's no additional wear and tear with a vertical clutch mechanism. Now, the watch has some subsidiary setting modes, including hacking seconds, so you can stop the seconds hand and synchronize to a reference time. Now here we have a feature that you don't get on the standard Diver 300 meter, whereas the standard Diver 300 meter uses the 8800 caliber, which is a single barrel 55-hour power reserve that does not have an independently mobile hour hand. This is not based on the 8800. This is based on the 9900 flagship chronograph movement, which is considered the upscale chrono movement at Omega. So you have this mobile hour hand. So note the chronograph is still running, the watch is still keeping time. I can travel forward or back across the international date line. It'll even jump the date in both directions, and I can make these changes as I time events with my minute hand, my seconds hand, and my chronograph. It does not stop the watch. Now you can see that the watch is a tri-register chronograph despite having a neat, clean, balanced twin register dial. The way they do that is there is a mono counter at 3 o'clock with superimposed chronograph hour and chronograph minute hands. Flip it all over. You can see a skeletonized bridge atop the column wheel. We have a solid gold rotor. This is the 9901 movement. And what's different from the 9900 is that we've got the solid gold rotor, and then we've got an 18-karat solid rose gold balance bridge as well. So we have a balance bridge with a free sprung index for shock tolerance. We have a rotor bearing rather than a jeweled staff for the same reason. We have a coaxial escapement tri-level. It's a double impulse, direct and indirect impulse, tangential contact escapement. So it extends power reserve, 60 hours here, reduces maintenance requirements, and improves chronometry. And it was George Daniels' invention back in 1974 when he first conceived this, and industrialized by Omega in 1999. It took them a few years to get the hang of it, but these new tri-levels, which have been in production since 2007, are the best yet, and they truly realize all the promise of the Daniels original. All this beats away at a quirky 25,200 vibration per hour rate, not dictated by the coaxial, but by the anti-magnetic silicon hairspring. You'll see movements across Swatch Group brands that use that 3.5 hertz beat rate, and that is specific to the silicon hairsprings. The watch is highly anti-magnetic, and it goes through the master chronometer test, which means a test of chronometry, yes, to and beyond the COSC standards, but also water resistance, shock resistance, anti-magnetism, winding efficiency, and power reserve. Master chronometer is a fully cased-up watch test, unlike COSC, which is just a bare movement test. Now, another feature that's worth mentioning here is that we have two barrels, 1-2. That doesn't give it a huge power reserve, though at 60 hours is nothing to sneeze at, but the two barrels make for more even torque release, so it doesn't gallop too fast when fully wound, nor does it lose a ton of amplitude after 18, 24, 36 hours. That's the real advantage of having a twin barrel setup. All of that in a 54 jewel movement with spiral arabesque Côte de Genève. We have both blackened and polished screws, and if you get closer you can see there's engine turning on the base plate, and although the bevel is machined, it is neat and attractive. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.